This video is from a sexual abuse survivor, and how I have a kind of unique view, I guess, on how I've been looking at Reverend Wright and Barack Obama and the black theology, the preaching of hate. And basically, I'm a survivor of extreme childhood abuse. I have post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm also a mother, and I do see analogies in my own life, being a traumatized person, and I see an analogy to slavery. Slavery was undoubtedly a terrible, ugly, cruel, horrible thing. This is a fact. History books should teach this. However, I don't believe that Reverend Wright should be spewing out hate about it and directing hate at white people during this day and age. I think Michelle and Barack Obama cannot help unite our nation or empower African Americans. I think they're crazy to have their daughters in that church. And the reason why is I think it unempowers black people. As a traumatized person myself, that is also a mother, I totally disagree with the logic of transferring my burdens, my anxiety, my hurt, and my anger onto my daughter. It is a fact of life that evil exists, and if I were to get in a church with a bunch of women who all spewed hate at men, it would not empower us. Because, unfortunately, we can't throw a blanket on all men and say all men are evil. It would be easier, but it's not valid, and it wouldn't be healing. Because you have to embrace the good in life to put the ugliness from your past in the past. And you have to anchor yourself in the present and reach out to the beauty in life. And if I were to go to a church with other women and yell and scream about the ugly, terrible men that have done horrific things, raped and abused children, and this continues to this day, I would be preaching the truth. There are a small minority of men that are like that. But I would be spending every Sunday of my life keeping an event from the past in the present. And I would be ignoring all the men in the world who aren't like that, who don't believe that raping and hurting children is okay. They aren't sexual abusers, they aren't deviants, and the majority of men are not sickos like that. Likewise, I don't want to poison my daughter and give her my burdens. She will have her own burdens in life. I don't want to give her my anxiety. This is my problem. And I don't want my past to poison her and to consume her with so much hate and anxiety that she's looking around every corner and she can't go out and embrace and find herself wonderful male people to befriend and be around. Reverend Wright keeps the hate of racism alive, and he spews a false reality. He doesn't show that 90% of the white people never had slaves, that the father of the Underground Railroad was a man that was white, named Levi Coffin, who saved thousands of slaves. He doesn't talk about the fact that slavery has ended, that white people fought in wars, largely a war that was about the issue of slavery and stopping slavery, because then if you acknowledge that the majority of white people were not into that at all, that many of them were abolitionists trying to stop their government from allowing this, then he couldn't throw the blanket of hate over all people, and he'd have to address that. It would be harder to rile up and impassion all these people and get them all angry, and they wouldn't open up their pockets as much. He's become a multimillionaire from spewing this hate. And I think when you embrace hate as a way of life, as kind of like a religion, us against them, It unempowers you. I see Reverend Wright just like I see Bin Laden. Bin Laden's father hated America, so Bin Laden picked that up and he's retransferring the hate to all these other people, to successive generations. He's trying to spread that hate as widely as he can. He has not accomplished one positive thing in his life. He's consumed by hate, and it blinds his eyes. And Reverend Wright blinds the eyes of African American people and gives them the idea that all white people are out to get them, we all hate them. And it's not true. And I think Barack Obama, and sitting there, is abusing his daughters and himself. He cannot bring us together when he's sitting in a house of hate. And I know he says that he did not see this or that sermon, but there were so many sermons that preached hate. The Reverend Wright preached hate in a recent funeral service against whites. I mean, and against Italians, against Jews. He's full of hate. Somebody full of hate and going to a church full of hate for 20 years, how in the heck are they going to bring people together when they obviously have not healed their own hate, their own conflicts? That's not a place that's going to empower you or make you put the ugliness in the past. Yes, slavery was an evil thing. Yes, there still are some people who are racist, and probably always will be some people that are racist. There always probably will be some men who do horrific, ugly, horrible things to children and women. I'm not going to make it my religion and focus on this every single Sunday for the rest of my life. It's not going to change anything. I am going to align myself with people who are healthy and embrace the goodness and the beauty in the world. And I'm going to try very hard not to transfer the horrible things that happen to me to the next generation. This is my cross to bear, not the whole world's. And I think it's important, in order to heal from something, to ground yourself in the present and to look and see who the perpetrators really are. Were the perpetrators that hurt me all men or some? Were the perpetrators of slavery all white people? No. And white people get confused because a lot of us weren't even on this continent. There's been a lot of immigration of white people for the last 100 years. There's a lot of first-generation immigrants. We don't even feel responsible. And when we hear Wright screaming at us and we don't feel that we're racist people, we get confused and we get angry and we say, hey, this guy is bad. Just like men would think it was outrageous if women were going to a church spewing all this hate at men when these men themselves had not committed these horrible crimes. We can't throw a blanket prejudice over people who are innocent. So I just think that people who were slaves that have passed on are looking down, and what a parent wants for their children more than anything else is they want their children to be truly free. They want their children to be happy. They don't want to transfer the hate and the anxiety from whatever they encounter in their lives onto another generation. And Reverend Wright is doing this forever, for hundreds of years. And I think the African Americans that were slaves that passed on would look at their brothers and sisters and say, be free, let go, move on, be truly free. You cannot be free if you are going to a church like this and consuming yourself with hate forever. It's a false reality. It's not your burden to share. Rejoice in the fact that you are not a slave. Slavery ended, and move on. Live in the present. The past is the past. And recognize that not everyone was racist, just as not every man was responsible for what happened to me. Thank you.